Dear student, good morning. Yesterday, in fact, we discussed the leftover articles. Particularly, we have discussed um, Solgel method. We have discussed different Solgel methods rather, because spin coating, it was discussed earlier. So yesterday we have discussed dip coating method, and particularly spray pyrolysis method. And then we went ahead and we discussed Silar method. That is another very cost-effective method for deposition of thin film or deposition of various material. And then we switch over to CVD. Now, as far as CVD is concerned, the basic fundamental of CVD we have discussed earlier. Moreover, yesterday we have discussed atmospheric, because CVD can be divided into 5 different categories: atmospheric CVD, low pressure CVD, metal organic CVD, plasma enhanced CVD, and atomic layer CVD. So ultimately, whenever we are talking about CVD, it means that your material can be either in gaseous form, it can be in powder form, or it can be in liquid form that need to be vaporized. So in any case, the material need to be vaporized. That is why it is called as vapor, chemical vapor deposition. So it can be in powder form, like powder need to be vaporized again by heating. It can be, I mean, in solid form, right? It can be gaseous form. So those vapors of those gases need to be transported to the reaction zone. And if it is liquid form, then again that need to be vaporized and the vapors need to be transported. And depending on the pressure, depending on some other temperature and pressure, there can be and nature of chemicals, there can be subcategories of CVDs. Atmospheric pressure CVD, that we have already discussed, in which most of the whatever reaction we will be carrying out, those reactions will be carried out at atmospheric pressure. Then another is low pressure CVD. So there are some material which need low pressure for the pyrolytic reactions to be taken place. In fact, here, because whenever we are talking about CVD, it means like it is a truly speaking, we are having pyrolytic reactions only. The only difference would be what would be the change in temperature. Okay, and then we have also discussed plasma enhanced CVD, because here the plasma is going to play important role to initiate that reaction. That is why it is called as plasma enhanced CVD. And then we were talking about MOCVD, metal organic CVD. Here, metal organic CVD is mainly differ with other based on the chemical nature. So yesterday we discussed some fundamental aspect of those MOCVD, but today, because we could not finish that yesterday because of a shortage of time. So let me start from beginning again. So MOCVD stands for metal organic CVD, or it can be also referred as OMVPE. It means OM is organometallic vapor phase epitaxy. Okay, so it can be also referred as either MOCVD or OMVPE. Unlike conventional CVD, MOCVD is distinguished by the chemical nature of precursors. So whatever precursors we will be using, the chemical nature of those precursors are going to be altogether different than other CVD. MOCVD has been extensively applied in the heteropetaxial growth of third and fifth, and moreover second, sixth group of the compounds from the periodic table. So heteroepitaxial means like it is epitaxial growth, but we are referring as hetero. It means your substrate and the material to be deposited could be altogether different. So whenever you are having substrate and material to be deposited, both are different material. Okay, then that is of course the lattice matching will be there, but the materials will be altogether different. That kind of deposition is called as heteroepitaxial deposition, and MOCVD is well suited for that. For example, to grow gallium arsenide, we can use metal organic compounds such as trimethyl gallium would be one of the component for gallium component, one of the chemical for gallium component, and arsenic would be for arsenic component, right? So this is how gallium arsenide can be grown. So these two will be precursors there as far as the gallium arsenide growth is concerned. Both the chemicals can be transported in vapor form into the reactor. So as I mentioned earlier, whatever the chemicals, whether it could be in liquid form, it could be in gaseous form, it could be in solid form, those materials need to be vaporized and transported to the reaction zone. The overall reaction in the MOCVD is going to be like this, because this is a gallium. This is what I was talking about: trimethyl gallium plus arsenic, right? So that is when both big precursors are going to be reacted with each other. As a result of that, we can have the gallium arsenide. It will be deposited on the given substrate, and there will be some byproduct. That byproduct need to be went through the proper venting. Similarly, for aluminum containing compound, like for example, if you want to grow aluminum arsenic, okay, in that case for aluminum, we can use trimethyl aluminum as a precursor. And of course, arsenic is going to be the same. During epoxy, the gallium arsenic is doped by introducing dopant in the vapor form. So whatever like for example, like if you are doing layer by layer structure, and if you want to dope gallium arsenide, then it can be introduced in dopant form, vapor form. Similarly, say diethyl zinc and diethyl cadmium are typical p-type dopants. So these are the examples of typical p-type dopant, and silane is going to be a n-type dopant for third and fifth group of compounds. So whenever you will be growing third, fifth group of compound in the MOCVD, then these two can be used, like diethyl zinc can be used as a diethyl zinc, or diethyl cadmium can be used as a p-type dopant, and silane can be used as a n-type dopant. Since all these compounds are highly poisonous and often spontaneously inflammable in air, rigorous safety precautions are necessary in MOCVD process. Because whatever the precursor we talked about, whatever the compound we talked about, these are highly poisonous compound, and moreover they are inflammable even in like at room temperature also. And therefore, whenever you will be using these gases and this compound, whatever the nature, whatever the form, it could be in solid form, liquid form, or gaseous form, rigorous safety precautions need to be taken. Otherwise, there can be threats, right? There can be some problem. So you need to take care of that. Typically, the metal organic compound is transported to the quartz reactor by hydrogen carrier gas, where it is mixed with arsenic in case of gallium arsenide gold. So what happens, like whatever the metal organic compound is there, like we are talking about this metal organic compound, like this trimethyl gallium. If you want to grow gallium arsenide, this will be metal organic compound. This metal organic compound is going to be transported, as I mentioned earlier. This compound need to be transported to the reactor zone. Okay, so who is going to do the transportation? Hydrogen gas. And again, hydrogen gas is also going to be responsible. It acts as a catalyst for pyrolytic reaction at elevated temperature. But you know, hydrogen gas is going to be inflammable even at room temperature. Even at room temperature, if you are having leakage in hydrogen cylinder, you can have a blast. Okay, like, yeah, even at room temperature. And therefore, at elevated temperature, if you are using hydrogen as a carrier gas to transport your precursors of your compound to the reactor zone, then you need to be very, very careful. Otherwise, you may have blast in the laboratory. This is typical schematic of MOCVD machine. In fact, this is very generalized schematic, let me tell you, because we cannot have the very specific schematic. This is the quartz reaction zone I was talking about. This is the furnace actually, where the temperature can be maintained, where all those gases, all those compounds can be transported. You can see here, these are the two precursors in presence of H2. It means hydrogen will be a carrier gas for precursors, and dopant can be here, like any dopant, right? So again, you can see here we are using pure H2 there for that as well. So here it has been shown that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but we may not use all 5 dopant. Sometimes you may use 1 or 2 dopant as well, right? But these two precursors for gallium arsenide, you know like we need one precursor for gallium source and another source for arsenic. Both those Weber form of both those sources can be transported to the reactor zone, and whenever you want to have dopant, the dopant can be transported through this mechanism. And as a result of that, the reaction which I was talking about, the reaction is going to be taking place at this reaction zone, which call it a reactor. The typical reaction, the chemical reaction is introduced by heating gases at around 600 to 800 degrees Celsius and above. So, like below that, you are not going to have any reaction taking place as far as MOCVD is concerned. It is around 600 to minimum 600 to 800. Above the substrate place on a graphic susceptor by using RFAT. Now, as far as the susceptor means, it is a holder. It is a holder, right? Most of the time, holder would be made up of graphic, and there you can keep your substrate, and the substrate can be heated by using radio frequency heating. The periodic reaction forms the gallium arsenic layer. So this is what I was talking about. You need to transport those gallium component, you need to transport arsenic component, and then those components need to be transported by a carrier gas which is called as hydrogen. Okay, there's hydrogen would be responsible, as I mentioned earlier. Hydrogen would be a kind of catalytic gas to initiate the periodic reaction in the reactor, and then the gallium arsenide is going to be deposited. What are the advantages of MOCVD over CVD? It is operated at low temperature. So conventional like basic CVD requires more temperature. It is operated at 600 to 800 degree, around 600 to 800. But other CVD, the basic CVD is going to be operated at elevated temperature. Okay, this is one of the advantages. Why it is advantageous? Because whenever you are having elevated temperature, you are always bound to have the risk. More the temperature, more will be the risk, and therefore, since it can be deposited, the materials can be desired material can be deposited at relatively less temperature, low temperature, it is going to be good. There are no troublesome for liquid gallium or indium sources in the reactor. So even if we are having gallium and the sources of gallium and indium in liquid form, still there won't be any issue, because in MOCVD, those liquid form of the compounds can be easily vaporized and can be transported into the reactors. This is about ALD, atomic layer deposition. We talked about MOCVD, we talked about LPCVD, FECVD, MOCVD, and PECVD. Okay. Now, in all those form of CVDs, we are depositing layer by layer. We are depositing layer by layer. Now, whenever we are referring atomic layer, it means that you are ultimately depositing ultra thin film, almost like atomic layer. That is why it is called as atomic layer deposition. So this atomic layer deposition is unique method for deposition of thin film. It is also known as atomic layer epidaxy, or atomic layer growth, or atomic layer, simply atomic layer CVD. Now, reason for that is because, like you can grow atom by atom, one after other. Like you can have the layer of atoms on as the first layer, then second layer, third layer. Okay, so this is the beauty of this particular system. Its most distinctive feature is that it has self-limiting growth. Each time only one molecular layer can grow. And therefore, ALD offers very good method for depositing film having thickness in the range of nanometer. By other method, in fact, you can grow thin film, but here the thickness would be very, very thin, very less. It's ultra thin film, as if like you are going a layer of atoms. Okay, as if you are growing layer of atom, which is not going to be possible with other CVD machines. There also you are going to a layer, but layer is going to be little bit thick. There would be a bunch of layers of atom there, as it is, but you won't be able to see that. Okay, but here it will be like single atomic layer deposition can be possible with the help of this machine, and that is why it is called as atomic layer deposition. in a typical ALD process, the surface is first activated by chemical reaction. So because here, if you really want to, like deposit ultra thin layer, so whatever surface you will be using for deposition, I mean substrate surface, that need to be activated first. Then only you will be able to grow a single atomic layer. Otherwise, it cannot be. When the precursor is introduced in the deposition chamber, the molecule of precursor react with the surface species and forms bonds with the substrate. So this is the basic phenomenon. So first of all, what happens? Like substrate need to be activated first, and then whenever you will be introducing precursor, the precursor is going to have some kind of bonding with the substrate atoms. As a result of that, there will be a single atomic layer deposition in case of ALD machine. Since the precursor molecule do not react with each other, a film of only a single molecule thickness can be deposited. So this is another beauty of or special feature of this system, that the precursor molecules are not going to react with themselves. They are going to have reaction, some sort of interaction with the substrate only. They are not going to react with themselves. As a result of that, you will be able to form a single layer, single layer of atoms. That is why it is called as atomic layer deposition, which is not going to be possible with the in other case. Again, like this is not the actual, this is very sophisticated, or not sophisticated, very broad, block diagram or schematic of atomic layer deposition. You can see here, this is going to be your you need vacuum tube, vacuum pump, okay, so that this the excess byproduct can be pumped out. Okay, this is heater, and this is the vapor I was talking about, on which different phases of vapors can be introduced by means of, this is not complete figure, this is only the reaction zone. Complete figure will always have the, like MFC for the different gases, right? So in the next step, the monolayer is activated again. Like as I mentioned earlier, the first layer, what we are, if you want to really deposit first layer, first of all, the substrate need to be activated, and then precursor is going to be introduced, and there will be some sort of bonding between the precursor molecules, precursor atoms, and the atoms from the substrate. Then as far as next step is concerned, again that first layer, first atomic layer, which has already been deposited first time, that need to be activated again by surface reaction. Some sort of surface reaction can be taken place, and layer of the same or different precursor is deposited on the top of the layer of the previous precursor molecule. So like you have got first of all this substrate, on the top of that first atomic layer you have, right? And then again what you need to do is, again you can introduce the another precursor. The precursor can be of the same layer, same material, or can be of different material, and then that will be able to deposit again another layer of atoms on the substrate. This is how the atomic layer deposition is going to be taking place. So let me give you comparison of CVD machines. You can see this is APCVD, LPCVD, and PECVD. For these three comparisons we have. What are the advantages? Like APCVD is simple and fast. Okay. As far as LPCVD is concerned, it has excellent cleanliness, conformity, and uniformity. So conformity means like the source can be source, or the substrate holder can be moved from one place to another, so that uniform deposition can be achieved. And PECVD, advantage of PECVD over APCVD and LPCVD is it has got low temperature, because presence of plasma will help to reduce down the temperature, and that will be good. As far as disadvantages are concerned, APCVD has got some disadvantage. There is poor step coverage. Okay, LPCVD has got advantage of high temperature and low deposition rate. It has got very high temperature, and deposition rate is going to be less as far as the LPCVD is concerned. Whereas PECVD, risk for particle and chemical contamination. I mean, as far as the contaminants are concerned, in PECVD, more amount of contaminant can be added. What are the uses application? APCVD can be used for low temperature oxides. PECVD can be used for polysilicon, nitride, and oxide. And LPCVD is going to be polysilicon, nitride, and oxide, and PECVD is going to be used for low temperature oxide, passivation, and nitrides. Okay. As far as pressure required is concerned, you can see atmospheric pressure 10 to 100 kilopascal. Whereas LPCVD, it is only 100 pascal. Okay, so it means FECVD requires more, and PECVD require 200 to 600 Pascal, again still more, right? So you can see the difference, right? So difference in terms of advantage, disadvantage, uses, and precursor of the temperature. What are the CVD advantages and disadvantages in general? In general, CVD, okay, it has got high growth rate. High growth rates possible, and you can have the good reproducibility of the devices by using CVD machine. So CVD is always going to be good system for deposition of material, but it has risk involved. As far as electrochemical and chemical method is concerned, we don't have any risk. Whereas in CVD, we have got risk. Okay, so high growth rate possible and good reproducibility. Can deposit material which are hard to evaporate. Even the material which are going to be hard, very hard for evaporation, that one material can also be grown here. Can grow epitaxial film. So here epitaxial means layer after layer. That is possible with CVD technique. Generally, better film quality, more conformal state coverage. Usually, CVD, I'm just referring the advantages of overall CVD, not any particular like ABCVD or POCVD or something of that sort. Overall advantages. Okay. And uniform distribution over the large surface area. This is also possible. What are the disadvantages? High process temperature. This is one. Complex process, toxics and corrosive gases. Film may not be poor. So these are some of the advantages of CVD machine. Particularly toxic, toxic gases are going to be more in CVD machine. Okay, and since we are dealing with hydrogen and at elevated temperature, again is going to be very uh, risky. This is the APCVD system designed by our group, because this those who are coming to the center regularly, they must have seen in fabrication lab we have CSI funded Weber phase and CVD machine. Okay, so this machine you can see here, but at present we are having some problem with the furnace. We are going to refill it soon, and it will be open for admission, experimentation. This is the schematic. Schematic I have already discussed earlier. Now let us talk about the physical vapor deposition. So chemical vapor deposition we have finished now. As far as physical vapor deposition is concerned, PVD, the physical vapor deposition technique is based on formation of vapor of the material to be deposited as a thin film. Now here, essentially, your source material is going to be hard, a solid. In physical vapor deposition, source material is going to be solid. Whereas in case of CVD, it can be solid, like powder form, it can be gaseous form, or it can be chemical form as well, liquid form as well. Whereas in case of physical vapor deposition, it is always in solid form. The material in solid form is either heated until evaporation or sputtered by the ions. So there are two different techniques. Physical vapor deposition is either evaporation technique and other can be a sputtering technique. Now evaporation is what? You will be heating material, and as a result of that there will be vapors of that material, and the vapors will be carrying out, of course it should be in vacuum. Okay, those vapor can be deposited on the substrate. You don't need any carrier gas here. Whereas as far as sputtered by ions, we call as sputtering is concerned, there what happens, you need to bombard your substrate or source with very high velocity particle. As a result of that, this the very high energy particle whenever bombarded on substrate, there is possibility of removing some, dislodging some atoms. Okay, and those dislodging atoms are going to be deposited on the other substrate. Okay, so it means like you have a source, you will be exposing that source to very high energy ion beam. As a result of that, this high energy ion beam will be responsible for dislodging some atoms, and those atoms are going to be transported to the substrate. In the last case, in case of sputtering, ions are generated by plasma discharge, usually within the inert gas. So either you can use HHI radiation, or you can use the plasma discharge usually, and ask the ion beam to dislodge the. It need not be very high energy. Then in that case, if it is in plasma, it is also possible to bombard the sample with an ion beam from an epitaxial ion source. This is also possible. This allows to vary the energy and intensity of ions reaching the target. So this particular system will allow to modulate the energy and intensity of ions reaching the target. So obviously, particularly I would say this system will be responsible. I mean, either physical wave, I mean, either sputter coating or the thermal evaporation. The energy and intensity is going to be modulated, and whatever ions we are talking about, that ions is going to have a modulation in energy and intensity, and before they are reaching to the target surface. As a result of that, you can, of course, you need to arrange a system in such a way that the modulation can be minimum. If the modulation is more, if the change is more, then it will be really challenging for you to maintain the required properties of the material which is to be deposited. So this is going to be a schematic of wafer phase deposition. You can see, you can start from the condensed phase solid. In mostly, like as far as physical vapor deposition is concerned, it's not going to be liquid, it's going to be solid. And then through evaporation, you can have the gas phase. Those gas phase need to be transported to the gas reaction temperature, okay, and then a reaction zone, right? And then there will be condensation. As a result of that, the required material is going to be deposited on the substrate. Let me tell you briefly the working of PVD machine. There are, as far as the physical vapor deposition is concerned, there are 4 steps: evaporation, transportation, reaction, and deposition. So evaporation means what? In first, you need to create a situation in such a way that the material is going to be evaporated. Okay, then once it is evaporated, once you have the vapors, those vapors need to be transported to the substrate. So the second aspect is going to be transportation. Third is going to be reaction, because once it reaches to the substrate, there would be some pyrolytic reaction taking place. As a result of that, the end product is going to be deposited on the substrate, and byproduct is going to be vented out from the system. And so this is initiation of reaction, and last one is going to be the final end product, which is going to be deposited on the surface. What are the advantages? Advantages of PVD machine. PVD coatings are sometimes harder and more corrosion resistant than coating applied by the electroplating. Like electroplating is electrochemical. So if you compare the coating which you are going to end up with by using physical vapor deposition with that of like chemical vapor deposition, with that of electrochemical deposition, with that of chemical deposition, there are different techniques we have discussed, right? We have discussed simple solution growth method, we have discussed electrochemical method, we have discussed the pyrolytic spray pyrolysis, right? So whatever the coating which you are going to deposit on the substrate, that coating is going to be very, very hard as far as the physical vapor deposition is concerned. Most coating have high temperature and good impact strength, excellent adhesion, excellent abrasion resistance. Because corrosion, there won't be any corrosion as far as this particular deposition is concerned, and it is you will not be able to erode the surface once it is deposited by using physical vapor deposition. It has got ability to utilize virtually any type of inorganic and some organic coating material on an equally diverse group of substrate and surfaces using wide variety of like finishes. It means like various organic and inorganic materials can be coated on variety of the substrate by using this machine. More environmentally friendly than traditional coating process such as electroplating or painting. Why electroplating and painting is not painting means whatever the paint we are giving to the walls of your home or any building, that is also one kind of coating. Electroplating means like you will be depositing the desired material on the any substrate. The substrate can be of same material or different material, right? Now, if you compare the environmental friendly aspect of the physical vapor deposition, it is going to be more as compared to electroplating and painting, because there you will be exposed to those like VOCs which are going to be coming out from the chemical. Whereas in case of physical vapor, it is going to be under that there won't be any chemical, truly speaking. It's going to be solid, so there won't be any issues of like that issue which I was talking about, the odor and a bad smell, which is going to be difficult for us to survive. More than one technique can be used to deposit given film. So as far as the PVD is concerned, you can use more than one technique to deposit, say, deposit the given film, and you can finish the task at the earliest. What are the disadvantages? Like there are certain advantages as well as disadvantages. What are the disadvantages? The specific technologies can impose constraint. For example, line of sight transfer makes coating annular safe practically impossible. So like like since you see like let us say you have substrate here, source here, you are heating, you are operating, and here in the reaction zone or reaction in the reactor, here you have substrate, right? So what happens? This substrate, this since we don't have any carrier gas here, because otherwise, as far as the MOCVD, PECVD, and other CVDs are concerned, there you are going to use hydrogen as carrier gas. Here you don't need, but as a result of that, it is very difficult, very challenging to achieve the uniformity of the deposition on the given surface. It requires cooling water system to dissipate the large heat load. So this is one of the very serious concern. As far as sputtering is concerned, uh, even like the system which we are talking about is concerned, it requires cooling. Like water need to be circulated, water cooling. Particularly, it requires water cooling, because air cooling is not going to serve the purpose as far as this particular system is concerned. So air cooling means what? You will be like there will be some water pipe surrounding on the instrument, okay, and you will be continuously circulating waters. You will be continuously circulating water. So you must have seen in our laboratory. If you are curious, you can see the how water cooling we are doing in XRD machine. We are doing it in XRD machine. It will help you to understand how the cooling can be done by uh, uh, the cold water, right? The next is going to be evaporation, because as I mentioned earlier, as far as the PVD is concerned, there are two different kinds of possibilities. One is sputtering, other is evaporation, right? So let us first discuss about the evaporation. What is evaporation? Evaporation is the simplest physical deposition method for preparation of thin film. Evaporation system consisting of evaporation source that vaporize the desired material and the substrate. That's it. So you need evaporation source, means heating element. Heating filament, right? So that heating filament is going to heat the substrate. Okay, so heating filament is one requirement. Other is source, which is going to be vaporized, and these vapors can be deposited on the substrate. Substrate will be at the top, and this entire assembly is going to be enclosed in glass. Okay, this entire assembly is going to be enclosed, and you need to maintain the vacuum as well. The substrate faces evaporation sources. The Because you can see this is the substrate and this is evaporation. So there should be, like if you are using sources here, so substrate should be facing the evaporation substrate. Otherwise, what will happen? Those evaporant are going to spread all the surfaces except substrate. Usually, in case of the evaporation, the evaporant always follow the straight line trajectory, and that is why it should be exactly, the substrate should be exactly facing to the evaporation source. You can see the schematic of uh, evaporation, thermal evaporation in the on the slide. The substrate can be placed and heated as desired. As I mentioned earlier, if whatever substrate you want, it can be at the top, and the source can be at the down. You heat the substrate, heat the source, and as a result of that, you will be able to evaporate, and evaporant can reach to the surface of the substrate. The necessary vapors of the source material can be generated by simply heating the source as per the requirement of the concentration of gross species, and the vapor pressure of an element can be estimated from the equilibrium pressure. That is very important, right? I'm going to repeat this in the next session, because after one minute now the session is going to be terminated. So, and then because I don't want to have the break in between, so it is better to take break here now, because only less than 1 minute is left, and then we will be back within no time, and we will continue this article.